Welcome back. I thought I'd share some video that I have of my young horse Vin. He's been under saddle with me for 3 weeks, and I thought you might be interested in seeing what I do with my young horses. So Vin has been green broken. He's had a lot of stops and starts, not through any fault of his own, but just a lot of stop and start. So he's had a bit of work. Probably the most amount of work that he's had is 6 weeks in a row with his breaker. And so here you can see I'm getting him started, and I'm looking for a really consistent walk and trot. I'm looking for a trot that's forward, so much so that the horse begins to reach into the bridle. That's quite a nice moment. I'm not trying to bring the bridle back to him. I'm trying to get him to go into the bridle. And I can only do that with plenty of forward motion. I want his back to be working as much as it can as a green broken horse. You know, there's lots of, I can't expect him to be working the same as an older horse because he's got muscle limitations and concentration limitations. So yeah, I'm just looking for a nice consistent trot with a nice contact. That's a nice contact there. This part of the circle he always does really well, so I try to capitalize on that and keep it going for as long as I can. I also know it's coming up, so I try to make really minor adjustments just before to see if we can start it a little early. So again, here he'll go quite nicely into the bridle. I'm trying to keep my hands as still as possible. And we're doing lots of changes of rein. You'll see I do a rise one to change my diagonal instead of a sit one. That way I know that the horse's back can stay as free as possible. It doesn't have to hold my weight for any length of time, and I'm not interrupting the flow of movement on a horse that's just so inexperienced. And there we've got a sneeze. That's brilliant. I like to get 6 to 8 sneezes, and that tells me that the horse is processing and starting to accept what's going on. I was really happy with how he went, so we finished. We had a little walk, and that was it. Nice pat. So this is a couple days later on the 25th of January. I think I lunged him first. Most of the time I lunge him before I ride him. And that's probably more for me. I'm not a brave rider. I don't really like riding them this fresh from the breaker, but that's the process we have, and I would much rather do this work than have someone else do it and then have to fix any problems along the way. When I do this work, I know that all the problems are mine, but I've also done a few, quite a few, so I'm not inexperienced. I've done it before. I would just rather not do it. So this is the walk part. We would probably walk, we're not walking very much, probably only 2 or 3, maybe 4 figure eights. And then he starts to get fidgety and we just trot on. I don't mind that at all. That's young horses. They will tell you when they're ready to move on. So here you can see that the steering isn't great. I don't mind a lack of steering. There's a wall, so you know, if we have steering issues, he's still not going anywhere. And as long as he hasn't had a major fright, yeah, I don't mind a few steering issues. And this way, you know, I can teach him the way I like him to take the bit forward. So again, I'm looking for that nice and consistent trot where the horse is reaching into the bridle. And if you don't have that push, there was a sneeze just then. So that's one sneeze. I count all my sneezes. I like 6 to 8 sneezes. That tells me that they've processed the information that they've gathered and they're starting to accept all the work that is going on. So yeah, I like the nice consistent trot into the bridle. He did a really good job there, so we'll give him a quick break. So I give them a break of 30 seconds to a minute before we get started again. Any longer than that, and I find that they've switched off, they're not paying attention, and then you've got to do all that attention getting work before you can pick up where you left off. So down the long side, I'm doing some very shallow S's, and then I take up my curve. And I'm not riding any accurate circles, they're mainly figure eights, so very slopey, very gentle curves, no hard, no hard lines at all. He's not very keen to go down this wall just yet. He's much better on this wall here where there's less trees right up against the fence. But every time we go near, I just ask him to go, an inch closer or half an inch closer, and that's enough. I'm happy to take my wins in little bites. So here I'm asking him to keep that a little bit of a left flexion and to let my body stay on the left side of his in that left flexion. He wants to go right flexion and carry me with the right side of his back, but he did what I asked, and so again we have a quick another little walk break as a reward. Again, a 30-second or a minute-long walk. He can take that time to process what's just happened, and then I'll pick him up again. So I've been asking him to take the trot aid as the inside foreleg hits the ground. He would rather do it when the outside foreleg hits the ground. That's not going to get me my best balance, and I want him to accept that aid. That's the aid that I'll be using later, so why not start now? It takes a while, but we do get there. And again, he's really going into a nice frame for a breaker horse. I really like that he just kindly accepts the bit, carries it forward, the back legs are pushing enough for now. I'm not asking anything, I'm not asking any questions that he can't answer. And that's basically what I like to do. Make sure the questions are a little bit of a challenge, but not so much of a challenge that they can't answer it. There we go, he did some nice, a little bit of a yield. I wouldn't want to call it a leg yield, but it's a little bit of a yield. And again, he stays off this wall. That's fine, I'm not presenting that wall as an argument. I don't want to have that argument, so we stay off it, that's fine. But each time around, I do ask him to get a little bit closer. Another change of rein, so not staying on any one side for too long. He loses his balance, but then regains it. I'm letting him find his own balance rather than pushing him or pulling him into any kind of frame. I'm just really making sure that I'm staying out of his way as much as possible so that his back can swing, so that his hind end can push, He can develop his motor. And it all goes into the bridle at the moment into a soft but consistent contact. There we go, that's quite nice. And you can see he got just a little bit closer to the wall that time and accepted it and kept that nice contact. So we gave him a walk. Actually, I think I called it a day then. Lots of big pats. That was really good. This is the next day. Again, I would have lunged first before getting on. But these days, with the consistency coming the way it is, I'm looking for a day when I can not lunge him before I get on. Again, the lunging is just for me. I would just rather have him listen to me a little bit when I'm not on his back. He remembered from yesterday. So I'm asking him to get a little closer to the wall each day, just making that little bit of progress. Not expecting great leaps, but it's that progress that you make day by day by day by day. That's the progress that's going to get you somewhere. Again, lots of change of rein. And I was doing the rise one to change my trot diagonal, but I am looking for the moment where I can do a sit one, get his back used to holding my weight, but maintaining that consistency. Here we're doing S's down the long side, and they will eventually turn into loops. I'm not being very accurate here. I'm really just getting the feet to change and then getting the feet to change again. He did that last bit really pleasantly, so I gave him a little walk break and then we picked up again. So on the left rein, I do a lot of trot transitions on the right rein, but on the left, I haven't asked as many. So here, I've started to ask. I ask the aid as the inside foreleg hits the ground, and I want him to start accepting that, which he does. So here we're doing S's or loops, not accurate ones, but shapes that, you know, are starting to teach him to accept the steering of the bridle and the change of my body. Like my body is turning him. As we turn right here, I'll have my left leg back a little. And then as we turn left later on, I'll have my right leg back. Just helps to keep the body in the bend that I'm looking for. Some nice steps up there. Again, more S's, so left bend. And you can see the consistency really starting to come here. And I'm also now starting to ask him for some more motor, some more engine from the back. And so that he knows that we will, you know, we will be requiring a difference down the track. It's not all just, you know, one speed, one trot, one everything. It's not. Like we should have, you know, by the end of it we should have by the end of it we should have 10 trots or, you know, 10 canters and 10 walks. I think my partner is holding a horse. Yes, you can see it in the mirror. So this day we had him working with his paddock mate in the arena, and he really did not care. So every day I ask something small and new. I don't ask big things, I don't ask more than one thing, always small and new questions. So again, there's another trot transition on the left. I've only just started doing those in these videos here, this video and the last one. S's down the wall to work on the contact and his balance. That's his paddock mate. I don't think his paddock mate's singing out to him. More S's down the wall. S's are a really good way to get your horse straight. And he's getting a bit tired too. Yeah, if you think you're having a bit of straightness issues, ride your S's down the wall, and that really gets the horse in between your hands, really in between your hands, really in between your legs. You've got to have that forwardness though. He did a good job. He was getting a little bit tired. So big pats and a little walk around. This is a new day. I think it's the next day again. I don't think I lunged him this day, and I think that's why we filmed me getting on. Again, I'm not a brave rider. I really don't like it. But at the same time, I've just got to, this is how I want it done, so I have to do it myself. And so I have to ride the absolute best I can, even though I'm a little bit uncomfortable. So we start in walk, lots of turns to get him onto the, make sure he's got a left and right. And again, I'll overdo the easy things to make sure that they're there. Make sure I've got a left turn, make sure I've got a right turn. Take some time to let my seat down, make sure I'm really sitting on him. And that I'm breathing. If I'm not going to be breathing, then the horse isn't going to take the lead on that. He won't breathe either. It's such a beautiful day in this picture. Such a beautiful day. And here, I'm starting to ask him questions and he doesn't want to answer them. So I'm asking him to accept a bit more of a right rein. And it took him a while, but he did, and we were able to get into trot. I didn't see that he was getting that fidgety in his body. So it was good to be able to trot before he did, but then he's a little bit fidgety in the mouth. So what I worked out is that the question I was asking was 2 steps ahead, and I just needed to back off a little bit and ask the question that was just 1 step ahead. And the other thing is to ask your question and take longer. Wait longer for the response. Just getting myself settled in the saddle. I wasn't very comfortable. And he gets a bit fidgety, so I should have trotted there, but I wanted to make sure he wasn't fidgeting. Now that wasn't a brave ride. I should have been a bit braver and just trotted him on. So there, he accepts the bit much better. The walk is really good here. And again, often you don't get much time between when the walk is good and when they want to start fidgeting. So as soon as you get a good walk, it's really important just to get straight on into your trot. I should have trotted again before I made that turn. And I was berating myself and just got going. So there were 2 moments there where I just wasn't brave and I should have just kept going. But it wasn't the end of the world. It worked out okay. He's into his trot now. So here, I think the previous day I'd been looking at asking him for more trot, more engine, and you can see that he's a little bit backed off here. And I hope that I didn't leave it too long before I started asking him for more trot. I wouldn't like to see this horse do this trot for much longer. He's not using himself enough, which means his brain won't be engaged enough, which means he won't be learning the right things. There, I think I start asking him a bit more. And again, lots of changes of rein. I still haven't asked him to do a proper circle, like a round circle. We're just making shapes with very open and loose lines. And so what I'll be looking for is a trot that starts to build, an engine that I can use a bit more, so that the trot starts to become super balanced and I can think about my canter. You'll notice I haven't done any canter. I don't like cantering until the trot is super reliable, super balanced, because I want everyone to stay confident and I want the horse to know that he can confidently go into canter, confidently come back and trot really well before we even, think about doing it. So we had a sneeze before, so that's great. Yeah, so there I'm starting to ask him a little bit more. And I like them to learn a trick or learn something that is fun to do. So with this horse, I'm going to see if he enjoys the lengthened trot. On a couple of previous horses, they've really enjoyed the lengthened trot, and so I use that as a reward for some really good work. And what happens is that they then start to look for that lengthened trot. They're like, can I give you more? Can I give you this? There we go, a bit more again, so that's really good. And then I let him back off. He can't keep that stronger trot for very long. I do have to bring him back, and it's a very deliberate bringing back. I can't just constantly say more, more, more. And he did a really good job, so I'm back to the walk. Have a little rest and a pat.
You're definitely getting more and more out of him every day, though. Yeah. Yeah.
So we've got another new day, a couple days later. And so in between these days, he's had a rest day. So what I want to do here is consolidate using the engine. I would have lunged him first, and I don't think I did much walk before we got trotting. Start with the rise one. Always start with the questions or start with the routine that I did the day before, and then start to, once I've done that, then introduce new things, but only one at a time. You can see here that the figure eights are really starting to become more balanced. He's really starting to be able to hold his position and his posture far more effectively. And that's really nice. Gets a little bit unbalanced, but again, comes straight back to it. I let him come back to that balance. He has to find it for himself. I can't micromanage him. If I do micromanage him, he's going to turn into a horse that's not going to offer me the very best of what he's got. And you see there are some real moments where he picks up and picks himself up and gets a bit more upright in the shoulder, or a bit taller in the shoulder. Good. So that's a nice use of his engine. And I'll let him have a little rest after that. I think we've got my whole ride, nearly my whole ride in one take. So you can see how long I walk him for and what I ask for in the walk. So it's not that long at all. And then we go into the trot. He was a bit fidgety, so it's just good to get going again. Getting him thinking about what he's meant to be doing again. The balance is really developing, especially compared to the very beginning of this video. And the loops along the wall are really coming along. I'm asking for a bit more engine there, and then I have to back him off. I always make sure I back them off before they're ready, so that they're not getting to the end of their try, so they're still trying by the time I back them off. And that way you're kind of saving your brownie points. You can see everything is getting more consistent. He's holding his posture more consistently, the lines are becoming more consistent. Yeah, really good work. He has a partner walk here. Even the little things, next to that arena behind the mirror, there's a driveway, and so the staff are driving their vehicles up and down there, and it all adds to the environment and the atmosphere. Again, my gentle loops up and down the long side wall. I'd probably like to see him use a bit more engine, but he could be getting tired. I'm not quite sure. Let's see what happens in a minute. That's the other thing, you've really got to balance the work and the feed with young horses, and the work and the days off. That's another reason I don't like sending my breakers, my green broke horses away. I don't want them worked 5 days a week or 6 days a week. Sometimes I only need 3. Not all the time. Most of the time they need 5 or 6. But yeah, like there will be some weeks where they only need 3, and they can have, you know, they might only have every other day ridden. But I find that doesn't detract from anything. He's really starting to get used to me changing rein, changing diagonal, and really maintaining a consistent frame. It's looking really good. I'm super happy. There's a sneeze. And another sneeze. And then we did a downwards transition just before the bushes that he's not very fond of. If you're trying to get a horse a little bit more familiar or relaxed in an environment, do your downwards transition right near the scary thing. Do lots of downwards transitions right near the scary things, and you'll find that helps. New day, last day. I think I get on again without any lunging. Now the breaker teaches him to stand by the mounting block, but it often goes backwards once I've picked him up or once the new rider takes a young horse on. So that's also a thing, you know, if you're having trouble getting on with a mounting block, then maybe that's that particular day's session. He's just practicing lining up and standing near the mounting block, getting on, getting off. But this horse, Vin, only had a couple of days where he sort of stepped backwards, and then he stayed still, stood really well for the mounting block. So again, I've gotten on and I'm just moving my body around, patting him on the bum, letting him feel where I am on him, letting him know that I'm there and that his back end is attached to his front end, all of that. So this is the whole walk here. I don't think I lunged beforehand. I think I just got on, which is why I'm walking for so long. Now let's see how brave I am. Do I wait for him to get fiddly, or do I just trot on?
2.
It's really good to have the young horse walking on this really nice long loose rein. He's relaxed, I'm relaxed, and I can do it at any time in the workout. Like for me, that's really important. It means that if things get too much, we can stop and regroup, and that he's not, you know, walk isn't a stressful or anxiety inducing exercise. We've always got that walk we can go back to. So I was a little bit braver here. I think I had the previous day in mind where I really should have got going. I'd like to start seeing this trot a little stronger right from the beginning. But this horse has done a few days, quite a few days of riding, and I think he's probably feeling it a bit, and I'm probably not brave enough to feed him quite enough. Again, we're confirming all the lines that we know. So at the beginning of the trot, We do figure eights. We know that we know those figure eights. He's really starting to get close to the wall. He's starting to accept the bit during the change of band from left to right and right to left. And so that the loops on the long side, they're also getting really consistent, smooth. It's nice, it feels nice to ride. All of those things, and that all counts. You know, this is not a small thing here. The trot steps are getting really regular. He's starting to show some rhythm. So this is a really positive development for the young horse on his way to, you know, a first competition. And he's getting a lot closer to that long side wall as well, which is great to see. You'll notice I'm not asking for the bridle to come back to the horse. There was a sneeze and another sneeze. So that's only a few minutes in and he's already giving me sneezes. That's really encouraging. I like it. Whereas if I was bringing the bridle back to the horse and putting him in a frame and saying, you know, you will go, you will do this, I would be inducing anxiety, not relaxation. So I'm really starting to ask him to go close to the corner, like the short side corners and the short side wall. He's going to have to do a dressage test in the not too distant future, and that is going to need him to stay on the wall, stay on all of the walls. And it's, yeah, this is the moment where we can start asking those questions while we're working on the trot. And he has a little spook, but I just kept going. You know, if your horse has a spook, it doesn't need to stop. It doesn't need to dwell on it. Just keep going as if it was nothing. You know, even if your heart's in your mouth, just keep going. You know, you've got to be brave sometimes. You have to be brave so that the horse knows that this isn't a big deal. And the steps are getting really consistent. The lines are getting really smooth. And I'm starting to ask him to do more circle-like shapes. Yeah. And he's quite happy to oblige too. He hasn't been rushed. So if I say, oh look, I want a circle that looks like this, he's willing to try it. And there's the engine. I'm asking for a bit more engine. This is really good. And we've got to remember this horse has been I've been riding this horse for 4 weeks. So the first month of the year. And so we're really starting to form a partnership here. And it's looking really good. That was a great little workout. So of course I give him a big pat. And a rest. That's the summary of Vin's work in January. All of these videos together give you a really good idea of how the month has progressed over a 9-day period. And you can see the changes that have happened in that time. It's a really short period of time in the training of a horse, but you know, it's the little things and that consistency. And when you don't ask big questions in one day, you can actually make so much progress. Yeah, you'll be blown away. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. I enjoyed making it. It was lovely to get so much footage. And if you want more of this, then let me know. I hope you have a great day and a great ride. I'll see you in the next video.